Hi, Karen and Jason. This is Manny Marino with Dewood Sun out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I'm going to spend the next few minutes on this video kind of walking you through not only the assembly process, because this chair will come to you apart, but I'll talk about the engraving and the staining and maintenance and all those good things you need to know about this chair. So first, I want to thank Karen for reaching out. This is definitely a fun project, and my favorite part is the going back and forth, figuring out the design, the placement, what kind of images you want. And so we had lots of fun going back and forth, deciding how to make this awesome chair for you. And so here it is. This is what we came up with. So, but first, let me talk about the engraving. So pictures, videos never do it justice, but with the Keith engraving, or the back of the Buffalo and state of New York, it's engraved about 1/16 of an inch. So in the event down the road, if you ever need to give it a light sanding, you're not going to really damage the engraving, because it's deep enough that you can give it a couple coats of sanding if you wish. But starting with the logo, which you can't see really in the video, but I always put my logo and then the dedication. So who this chair is made for and the year. So nice touch there, Karen. And then with the addition of the arms, Karen decided to go with the Bill's Mafia with the little splashy splash of color. So that's that really is a nice touch. Initials there with the number 13 and the buffalo, and that was fun. Again, kind of getting back to the engraving. Again, the perimeter of the state along with the buffalo. Really, really nice. This entire chair is stained in what's called traditional cherry. Here's the brand that I use. Traditional cherry is probably one of my favorite stains, just because it's really rich, right? It brings out a lot of the wood grains, makes it kind of a dark mahogany. People think this is a mahogany chair. It isn't. It's a traditional cherry on a cedar chair, cedar wood, right? So cedar is nice to work with for outdoors, for furniture, so it can be out in the hot sun all day, and it's not hot to the touch. Doesn't retain water, doesn't rot. So this entire chair is made out of cedar. Let's see here. Oh, the base actually is a dark mahogany. So it's a very subtle two-tone that I typically do. Again, dark cherry, because it's dark stain, you don't really need to touch it up at all, if at all. So it stays really nice and rich. But that's what it looks like. So let's see here. I'm gonna just walk you through the other thing too I was gonna mention. Now, this is obviously a preference, but if you like the kind of the shiny look, this is a polyurethane, right? And this is the brand that I use. The only reason I didn't use it is because I'd have to keep it for 3 days, because it takes that long to kind of cure. But again, it's a preference. It's not necessary, because cedar wood is perfect and it's stained, it's sealed. So if you get wet, water will repel right off. You don't have to worry about it. That's just more of an aesthetics kind of shine, if you like that look to your chair. But okay, so getting back, let's talk about the assembly process. It's going to be very straightforward with the hardware, right? So this chair obviously is put together. So when you'll get it, it'll come in 2 boxes. The back is one piece, and the rest calls disassembled. The bolts that I use, it's a T25 torque screw, 2-inch. All of this chair takes it's the same size, 2-inch torque bit, brown. They're coated, they won't rot, they won't bleed. So these are the finest deck screws you could get. And they're countersunk, right? So let's start off, kind of a profile is a good indication. So if I take this arm off, give me a second. This is what you're gonna go after. And give me a second, I'm gonna take the back off a minute. Okay, so this will give you a good gauge, right? So you're gonna go after this base. So when it comes apart, the base is a 2x6, and looking at the chair, I'm always gonna reference it from right to left, right? So starting with the base, you're gonna start off with your first Keith seat slat. These are 24 inches, and in fact, all 7 of these seats are the same size. So in theory, you can put them out of order, but I'm going to label everything underneath on the right side, 1 through 7. I'm just going to ask that you keep it in the same order because I'd like you to use the same holes that I just drilled to put this together. When I take it apart and when you put it back together, I prefer that you use the same holes so you're not putting more holes in the back or on the base. So anyway, starting with the seat flat, right? Step number 1. So start on a flat surface. Your indication is start from the bottom, right? So make sure the bottom of board number 1 is aligned with the bottom of this, the left side of the 2x6, and then just kind of walk them all the way to get to number 7. On the 7 slat, and in between the legs is going to be a 2x6 spacer. You're not going to see it in the video, but I'll mark in pencil where they should align. Now, I said earlier that this entire chair takes 2-inch screws, with the exception of 4, and that's going to hold the spacer in between the legs together. These are 3 inches. It's the only 4 of the larger ones, and you're going to go all the way and countersink. Obviously, you can't see it now, but these are your longest ones. 2 on the right side, 2 on the left side. But anyway, when you get to number 7, on purpose, there's going to be like a 1-inch gap. Look for the marking just to kind of give you an eyeball of where that should align and end up. And this is where the tail of the back is going to slip right in. So step number 1 is your base, your legs. I'll have them marked right and left. Again, in theory, the front legs kind of look like this. And you could mix them up, but I'm going to ask you to keep them right and left because like I don't really have a pattern. I just kind of mark these, so I want you just to keep it right to left. It's just that simple. And then I'm gonna take this arm off. When you get to the back legs, by the way, these are all just finger tight right now because of course I'm putting it, I'm gonna disassemble it, but just slide those up, right? This board is 21 inches. It's the only small one in the whole pack. And you're not going to see it, but look for the marking. On purpose, I leave like a 1/4 of an inch gap from the top. And the reason for that, because if you were to bump it all the way to the top, the corner of this, because it's angled, will actually keep the arm from sitting flat on the back leg. So that's the right back leg, left, swing those up, put your back support in between them, and you're good. Again, 2 inches on each side, and you're golden, you're good. And then the next step is to actually put your arms, which I just took off, but the point is these will be 3, right? Countersink on the top and the bottom. And this is going to be super important too, when you're putting this, I ask that you use the same hole when you're screwing it in. And I might recommend just screwing this in first, letting it pop out, and then just putting it in the hole and then finishing off the rest of that. And again, that's just to keep from extra holes on the back of the legs or any part of the chair for that matter, if you can avoid it. The other thing, this is a kind of a tip. I think with, like, my drill has a lot of torque. So when you are screwing these in, just be mindful of going super fast because I've had this before and I've done this so many times and you would think I learned my lesson by now, but if you go too far deep and then try to pop it back out because you've given it too much juice, then you run the risk of splitting this, all right? So anyway, try to avoid that, learn from my mistakes. And then the last thing that goes on is your back, right? So that just slips right in. The thing with the back is, I should have mentioned this. The thing with the back is this is held together with 2 2-inch screws on each side, and that supports the back brace to the back of the back, right? And then underneath the back, I call it the tail, that's underneath the seat. There's going to be 2 screws, 1 on each side, and that's just to keep it from shifting as people get in and out of it. But that's pretty much it. I mean, this is the base that you're after as far as like your base for setting up the rest of your chair. So pretty straightforward on assembling it. Sorry if I rambled on, but I do this with every single chair that I ship. You would think by now I would do like instructions with all that stuff, but I don't do that just because every chair is unique and different and there's always something to talk about with the design and stains and all that stuff. So I just like doing these videos, and I go on and on. But I will put business cards in your toolkit. Oh, I forgot to tell you, this is probably why I need to do instructions. As far as like your screws, right? So the back legs obviously go on the inside, but when you pull it out of your kit, you're just gonna slide those up. The front legs go on the outside. Lag bolts are 3 inches, and they go from outside in, and then it goes washer, lock nut, nut. You're gonna need a 9/16 socket or ratchet to make life easy. And then as you're putting it together, I recommend just keep it finger tight for now. Once it's snug and the arms are your back, your seat, your arms, and your back are on, once it's good and flat on the ground, of course, then you tighten all your bolts. So that should be the very last thing that you do. Okay, so that's about it. I want to thank you, Karen, Keith. I hope you enjoy this. Send me a picture when you find it and it's right home. And it's when it's home and put us together. I would love to put this on my Instagram. And if there's any issues down the road, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm at 612-423-1468. And I appreciate the business. Thank you. Take care.